It's exactly 6:23 in the morning. He wakes up 7 minutes before the alarm, staring blankly at the popcorn ceiling. The claustrophobia hits before his feet even touch the floor. He earns a supposedly respectable $4,200 a month. But after the system silently carves out its mandatory pounds of flesh, the rent, the car payment, the suffocating minimum payments on his $15,000 debt, he is left staring at a banking app that shows exactly $48 to survive the next 14 days. He isn't building wealth. He is just funding his own comfortable prison.
Today, we are conducting an autopsy on the modern middle-class dream. The crime scene isn't a dark alleyway. It is the sterile environment of a modern open-plan office. He sits under harsh fluorescent lights, trapped deep inside the illusion of prosperity. Society told him that securing a stable job was the ultimate victory condition. He played by the rules. He took on that massive debt just to maintain the baseline aesthetic of a successful 34-year-old. But this is the brutal reality of the salary trap. Every single month, the direct deposit arrives, providing a fleeting 30-second rush of dopamine. Then, the invisible hands aggressively reach into his account. The landlord takes $1,000. The auto loan extracts $400. The credit card companies demand their high-interest tribute. He works over 50 hours a week, grinding through endless spreadsheets, only to realize his net worth is actively moving backward. He is sprinting on a financial treadmill that increases in speed every single year. The paycheck-to-paycheck cycle is a perfectly engineered ecosystem designed to keep him just hungry enough to return on Monday, but never full enough to walk away. He looks around at his coworkers, all wearing the exact same invisible golden handcuffs. They boast about minor promotions, completely oblivious to the fact that their increased income is instantly devoured by their expanding lifestyle.
Let us examine the suspects who orchestrated this silent theft. The primary culprit is a psychological virus known as lifestyle inflation. It begins innocently enough. A 3% annual raise finally clears the bank. Instead of capturing that excess capital, he immediately upgrades his apartment. He rationalizes that he deserves a slightly better car, a slightly more expensive dinner out. Here is a micro story of how the trap snaps shut. Last Tuesday, he went to the grocery store to buy basic supplies. 2 years ago, those exact same items, chicken, rice, some vegetables, cost him $60. Now the register aggressively demands $95. His salary hasn't grown by 50%, but the cost of mere survival has skyrocketed. The gap between what he earns and what it costs to exist is shrinking, crushing him in a financial vice grip. The real tragedy here is the fundamental societal misunderstanding of income versus wealth. Society convinced him that a high income makes you wealthy. That is a devastating, mathematically proven lie. A high income simply makes you a highly paid servant if you spend it all. His employer extracts over $100,000 of actual market value from his labor every year, paying him only a fraction of that in a rigidly fixed salary. The system is designed to keep him dependent, ensuring he never accumulates enough capital to actually buy his own freedom. The suspects are the societal norms that celebrate mindless spending and severely penalize aggressive saving.
We must look at the cold, unforgiving math of this financial prison. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, you are operating with absolutely zero margin for error. Let us break down the anatomy of his $15,000 debt. It isn't just a number. It is a mathematical parasite. At a 22% interest rate, he is paying over $3,000 a year just for the privilege of owing them money. Every time he makes the minimum payment, he is effectively buying a tiny, high-interest piece of his own chains. The math dictates that it is literally impossible to out-earn the trap if expenses rise in lockstep with income. Imagine a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom. His salary is the water pouring in.
He works harder, pouring more water, but the hole, his fixed expenses and debt obligations, just gets wider. He thinks the solution is a bigger bucket, a higher salary. But the math unequivocally proves that unless he uncovers a way to plug the hole, he will eventually drown. True wealth isn't the volume of water pouring in. It is the water that actually remains in the bucket. The salary trap mathematically guarantees failure.
It is time for the interrogation. Why does he submit to this? When we place human psychology under the harsh lights, the confession is brutal. He stays because the golden handcuffs are incredibly comfortable. The fear of the unknown is far more terrifying than the certainty of his financial cage. He rationalizes the 50 hours a week because his employer provides health insurance, a matching retirement contribution, and a false sense of identity. Let me tell you exactly how this psychological defeat happens. Last Friday, his manager dumped an emergency project on his desk at 4:30 in the afternoon. He canceled his weekend plans. He worked 14 hours straight, fueled by cheap coffee and the desperate hope that this massive sacrifice would lead to a life-changing bonus. But the bonus never came. Only a standard good job email. He traded a completely irreplaceable weekend of his finite life for absolutely zero equity. He surrendered his time to build someone else's dream because he is addicted to the perceived safety of the next direct deposit. The interrogation reveals that he isn't a victim of circumstance. He is a willing participant in his own captivity. The illusion of prosperity has completely blinded him to the fact that he is trading his most valuable asset, his time, for fiat currency that is constantly losing its purchasing power.
The autopsy is complete, but the patient isn't dead yet. There is an antidote to the salary trap. He must fundamentally redefine what wealth actually means. True wealth is the gap. It is the sacred, fiercely protected space between his income and his expenses. He must take a sledgehammer to his lifestyle inflation. The $48 he has left? That is a symptom of a bloated cost of living, not just a low income. To break the golden handcuffs, he must aggressively widen that gap and weaponize the excess capital. He must stop using his money to buy depreciating status symbols and start using it to buy back his own time. Every dollar he saves and invests is a tiny soldier sent into the future to liberate him from mandatory labor. He doesn't need a massive lottery win. He needs a ruthless, calculating shift in his consumption habits. He must pivot from consumer to owner. He lies there in bed, the alarm finally buzzing at 6:30. He reaches over and slams the snooze button. The claustrophobia is no longer a vague feeling. It is a crystal clear reality. He sees the walls of the financial prison, but for the first time, he also sees the door. He knows exactly what he must do to widen the gap and shatter the golden handcuffs. But as he calculates the brutal sacrifices required to escape, the subscriptions he must cancel, the ego he must swallow, a terrifying new obstacle blocks his path. He realizes that the system has installed a hidden defense mechanism. The real battle to keep his newly acquired capital isn't against his bank account. It is against the expectations of the people closest to him.
Are you wearing golden handcuffs, or are you actively building your escape? Tell us below. Subscribe to break the system and reclaim your time.